Yeah, that's fine.
Hello, hello. My name is Delphi.
And I am Skyla.
All right, you're starting to get the hang of it.
Yeah.
All
I caught on
right,
this time. Bit slow, but I caught on.
we're back at it again with another Into the Fray game. This time versus Classic Esports 5, or at least I assume that's 5 and not just like V.
I would imagine it's a 5-2. It'd be kind of confusing otherwise, unless they name like all their teams after the alphabet.
There's like a Classic Esports A, B, C. So like this is like their 20 something link
Yeah,
or
like
team.
their 21st team.
All right.
But it is nighttime, so I love me a good late night cast.
Sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
And it. Are you okay there?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, no, I'm fine. I'm fine. I almost dropped something. We'll be fine. We'll be fine.
Okay, okay. All right, and it looks like we're going to be starting this pro draft off real quick, and a Hecarim ban coming out on the side of Classic Esports. Quick ban for the Zoe as well. Both very strong meta choices, and we see the Ari get banned. Just wanting to get rid of more of that safe mid lane choices. You okay, though?
Yeah, absolutely. Just taking care of something. Cover for me.
Okay, and we see Classic Esports actually putting a heavy focus on the top tier jungle picks. Rek'Sai being arguably the strongest jungler in the game currently, followed by Hecarim, and the Urgot actually being grabbed here for V-Dog. He has played it in two of the matches they've played so far, so it also poses that as a takeaway from Guy with Glasses. And it looks like they lock into Morgana. Morgana's a very strong support here, and we do know that Into the Fray loves playing around their ADC Star Pona, and the Kale's being hovered. Some
All right, sorry
very
about that.
the Kale actually gets locked in here, which interests me because normally they play around Star Poner, but when you have this Kale, you want to make sure that she doesn't get shut down really hard so early into the game.
Yeah, that'll be a bit of a departure from their normal sort of team fighting type comp they might usually run. But on the opposite side, we see a Sejuani picked up, so maybe trying to pick that style up and go for some heavy team fights.
Yeah, and the Jarvan is still left open, so we can expect that to be picked up by Into the Fray. Potentially, it does pose a really strong combination with the Kale, and Into the Fray wouldn't want their jungler to get pinched out entirely. Sejuani's still one of the top tier junglers in the meta, so having that early pressure against her is always going to be good, but they actually choose to go for the buy potentially here, see if they lock it in. But if they do go for the buy, it's more guaranteed lockdown.
Absolutely. They're looking to find one person on the map and just totally ruin their day. But Vi also has that early game that can really compete with a Sejuani. If it's a Kale mid, I see Vi Kale as being a relatively good duo.
And although I understand the Jace ban from Into the Fray because Classic Esports does play Jace in that mid lane, it it kind of seems as like a very off choice because Jace doesn't really have too great synergy with the composition they have set up, and he also provides just a full AD composition if they were to grab it. Kind of seems like a waste of ban from Into the Fray.
Well, they're not looking to have their Kale get beaten down too badly. I guess they're looking to just hit those hit those early champions, especially if they lock in this Lucian that could bully out their potential late game choices.
That is definitely an excellent point that you made. I actually did not think about how the Kale could go mid lane. You normally do see the Kale top lane because the matchups are easier, but banning out that Jace in the mid lane would definitely make sense if Into the Fray looks to put Grey Fox on the Kale.
And we received confirmation that that is a Lucian ban, by the way, not just a missed ban. On the opposite side, like you were, or sorry. On the opposite side, we see a lot of late game ADCs banned out. So Into the Fray says there's one you haven't thought of.
The Vayne, and I'm really excited to see Star Poner on the Vayne. We've seen him always go for the Zaya. We've seen him play the Kog'Maw, and now there's one hyper carry that we've yet to see him on, and it is the Vayne. We're gonna see what Classic Esports decides to respond with already having this strong team fighting composition built up for them.
On the opposite side, Into the Fray's got such a nice pick composition. You were talking about the single target damage with the first three. Vayne is like the epitome of I'm gonna pick one person and just melt them. You know. Uh,
But but if there's anyone who can put Vayne in her place, it is the Draven. I am so excited to see this pick.
oh boy.
For looking to put Star Poner in his place.
It's flashy. Everyone loves it. Tyler won on him. Let's see what's happening. Is it Tyler won or Vayne spotting day? I'm so excited. And they will
Yeah,
save the potential flex pick, I guess Kale could be top or mid. We'll see what they choose here. Gonna go with Diana.
Diana hovers very interesting indeed. They can still send that kill to the top lane. Diana is locked in here. Diana does have a relatively fine time into the LeBlanc. Yes, LeBlanc has that range advantage, but the second 6 hits, Diana is a really tanky kind of assassin with the double shield, and she definitely can 100-0 a LeBlanc.
On the other side, we see some really heavy skirmishing power, and you almost don't even need like a crazy amount of AOE because you have so much lockdown, and they don't have a front line truly. If you can get through some of the shields like Black Shield or the Vayne being invisible, whatever, you can actually destroy them in any sort of concentrated fight. I feel like.
It does beg the question although I understand the Draven LeBlanc pick, why choose these champions with the first three choices you have? Because I do feel that Classic Esports deviated away from the original identity that they had for their composition. You went from this team fight composition to kind of just a snowball it, snowball as hard as you can in the early portions of the game. And I definitely see them having more difficulty against Into the Fray when we have those mid to late game transitions if they aren't able to secure the lead that they want.
Yeah, Into the Fray has such a snowball comp as well. If you do manage to get like a few kills onto them, it's snowball on both of them to be honest. It's just Into the Fray has Kale, who at level 16 turns into a god on the Rift.
Yeah, Into the Fray definitely has a really scary looking late game. So they honestly don't really care how long the game stalled out because second Kale hits 16, second Vayne hits her 3 items, and once even the Diana can get her 3 items, they will be just ripping through Classic Esports.
All right, well we're in champion select on the actual screen, but I'll leave up the pro draft for a little bit so we can keep an eye on the actual teams we want to see. On the flip side, what about the bans? You think they were banning out targets here because the last wave was almost all ADCs?
Well, on the side of Classic Esports, they banned out Hecarim and Rek'Sai because they don't want Jandro on this Sejuani to be bullied early on. The Vi was still grabbed here, but I feel that's a lesser threat than Hecarim and Rek'Sai, who are some of the strongest junglers in the meta currently, as previously stated. The Ahri is a good ban because it takes away a safe blind pick and a champion that Grey Fox has performed on in previous matches and is relatively safe as well. And on the side of Into the Fray, it seems like they focus mainly on that mid lane, those mid lane bans, potential flex picks, and just general comfort.
Alright, I'm gonna
eventually.
swap over to the champion select now. We have a 3-minute delay, don't forget folks.
And Star Poner actually telling us to switch the title. Let's make sure we get that one fixed this time.
Hey, I fixed it already.
Okay, already on top of your game.
Hey, I'm
But
on it.
I do,
Always.
of course. But I do want to point out Classic Esports, by grabbing the LeBlanc on V Crypt and grabbing the Draven on V Keeper, they do have a lack of reliable wave clear. Yes, the LeBlanc can use her double distortion, but then that kind of keeps her out of any potential fight for however long she has to wait for the cooldown on distortion. It it's definitely going to be hard for them to hold against sieges by Into the Fray if Into the Fray does get ahead.
On the flip side, if you can manage to keep, I've said that phrase too many times, Vayne and Kale down, that's a matchup that can stay put down. If you can abuse that, you have a lot of early pressure between Draven Braum, LeBlanc. I mean, even Urgot can start getting it off in lane, especially against Kale.
For sure, a lot of late game carries on the side of Into the Fray. They can definitely be punished in their respective matchups. But I want to point out that Into the Fray running something that is entirely different from what they usually run. Usually you see this composition built entirely around Star Poner and being able to enable him come to mid to late game in these team fights. That way he can pop off and he could carry the game to victory. But this time around, they kept Foxy's on a champion that she is very comfortable on. The Morgana, we've seen really wonderful performances by her in previous matches, but then they have carries all across the board after that.
Yeah, it's carry after carry after carry. It's like, even if you do manage to keep Kale down or keep Vayne down, the other one might still pop off. And if the other one pops off, they can spread that lead to, the other one and the other one. And it just keeps going on and on and on.
Yeah, it's really interesting, quite honestly. You normally see guy with glasses on these tanks or this early to mid game pressure like the Urgot, which was taken away by Classic Esports for VDog. I expected that to be a contested pick because both top laners are really capable on it, and this is just a whole different ball game for Into the Fray. And I feel after their loss against Essentia, they just want to experiment and find something else outside of that protect the carry style.
Well, we're definitely seeing something outside that protect the carry style, and let's hope it works. I mean, this could be a statement game for them in that sense.
Yeah, and I also want to point out, I keep saying that same phrase over and over, but I want to point out that Classic Esports actually not having a tournament match for quite a while where they won. They lost 2 games in a row, and then they won their last 2 games on forfeits. So you can potentially see some tournament rust, maybe some of their players falling under the pressure. We're going to see, but I expect good things out of them because they were able to actually put down Noble Threat, one of the stronger teams in this tournament.
Absolutely. Noble Threat was quite a treat to watch in some of their games. They had even an interesting comp against them, though, when Classic Sports did play against them. They played AP Karthus bot lane with Galio, still with Jace on the mid lane, lots of early carries there, so they're not a stranger to sort of cheesy comps.
As you can see here, the Draven, it just reeks of cheese. When you pick Draven, you want to sit in tri-bushes, level 1 them, you want to run them down, dive them, everything you can to get some form of kills on Beekeeper.
Yeah, the Draven feels like it was just a pure response to the Vayne, and it is nasty into the Vayne, as I've been told, but we'll see how it gels with the rest of their team.
Yeah, that we mentioned that they deviated away from this lack of identity, or not this lack of identity, but this team fight composition identity. They deviated away from that with the LeBlanc and Draven. Do you actually think that was the right choice to respond to a potential Kale in the mid lane and a Bane ADC with these 2 very strong bullies, or do you believe that Classic Esports should have stuck to the team fight composition that they originally laid out with their first 3 choices?
Well, I think if they're trying to find a new identity, trying something new is just absolutely required. It's if you're sticking with the same mold and not getting the results that you want, then clearly you got to try something new. The definition of insanity and all that, right?
Something like that.
But beyond the last game, I feel like it was working for them in a lot of situations. So maybe not something completely thrown away. Maybe just something to put into the back pocket while they find new game styles.
Yeah, and in this match, we definitely got to keep our eyes on the bot lane. It's going to be very, very chaotic in the beginning because Jandro does want to get Keeper ahead in that early game. We're going to see Keeper and Best Cliche trying to secure some kills on Starpona and
early
Foxys.
Invade, not the usual 5-point though. They do get spotted, so everybody runs off safe.
Keep in mind, I am a bit delayed.
Absolutely, no worries. Failed invade from the side of Classic Esports.
It's the Skyla special.
Don't worry, just listen to my soothing voice tell you all that is happening. Nothing to yell about in the first few minutes.
I mean, Gray
Fox hiding in the bush. Don't think they're going to go for an actual fight. I would use the word soothing. My voice is great.
Yeah, I was just kidding. It's wonderful.
Don't hurt my feelings.
I tried not to, but I am now caught up, and we're gonna see Trainer Ryu starting on his red buff, and the same thing for Jandro. That is a really hard name to say for me. I'm gonna call him Hondro.
Hondro?
Yes, Hondro. Like Juan.
I'll call him Jandro, and one of us will be right. How about that?
Okay, got
whichever one it is, he can tell us after the game.
All right. If Jandro is watching the stream, feel free to put a potential hashtag pronunciation or whatever, hashtag Skyla, hashtag Delphi, whichever one of us is right.
Alright, we're seeing a guy with glasses take some early trade from Urgot. We knew going in they've picked 3 really strong lanes. They're expecting to bully their counterparts.
Yeah, and they need these leads early on. It's gonna be ultimately about how well they can pressure their opponent and how well they can make these early to mid game plays. Because if they don't get these leads, Into the Fray has Kale, they have Diana, they have Vayne, they even have Vi, and she scales pretty well into the mid to late game as well. It's going to be very scary for Classic Esports if they don't get the lead, so I expect to see a lot of big things happening.
Ooh, seeing a lot of good damage coming out from LeBlanc. Like I said, pretty heavy trading and along all of their sides. Not too much CS miss, although LeBlanc is behind by 4, nothing super worrying.
Yeah, and with Trainer Ryu getting that bot river scuttle, may potentially see a gank breaking out in the bot lane because Keeper and Best Cliche are a bit pushed out forward and have no vision.
Setting up for it, and they don't see it coming. They might get a flash out of him. Maybe ruin some of the early pressure as we see Vi try to land the Vault Breaker. It's going to miss as Braum gets hit by the Dark Binding. The shield will keep him alive as Trainer Ryu is taking quite a lot of damage from Draven. And Draven just 2v3ing, like...
Keeper doing Draven things and just chunking Ryu down.
That's what we were talking about, that early game pressure. You can't even compete it when you have your jungler.
Yeah, it's really scary, especially Draven's level 3 to level 5. When he starts getting points into that queue, it just starts chunking you really hard. We're going to see Juandro actually doing the Krugs in the bot lane. I'm not entirely sure if they're going to look to set up anything. I feel like it's going to be hard against that Morgana as long as Keeper and Cliche push out.
Yeah, just trying to play it safe. Into the Fray's plan is not to really start too many fights unless they know they have the numbers.
And it looks like they're going to be looking for a fight here.
I think they kind of predicted, or he's going, no, he's sitting on a ward. Don't think they're going to stay unless Sejuani get them, though.
Yeah, Ryu's ward in the Tri-Bush actually coming out wonders for Starpona and Foxy, preventing them from getting ganked, and a fight in top lane between Kale and Urgot.
Doesn't manage to get Kale with the charge, though, so ends pretty quickly.
And the first dragon is going to be an Ocean. I do feel that's going to be huge for either team. Ocean Dragon being a really strong Drake in the early portions of the game. For the side of Into the Fray, it's going to allow their scaling champions a much easier time in lane. And for the side of Classic Esports, you're going to be able to afford a lot more trades as these lane bullies and just sustain back up.
Yeah, absolutely something to be coveted, something to be wanted, but a Flash Corrosive Charge will pick up Guy with Glasses. He will flash away safely, but Sejuani was there if he could get just a little bit closer, maybe. But V-Dog not willing to wait.
I feel that's honestly a win for Classic Esports, but a binding on
with
Keeper.
a stray binding, but he's just gonna walk away. Yeah, you're rude. You stopped his back.
He just wants to go home.
He says, "It's time." Diana's just hiding at red buff, just getting a little bit of a roam on, but I don't think they're going to dive.
And we see a lot of Into the Fray just looking around this Ocean Dragon, looking for any potential picks so that way they can get this Ocean Dragon for free. But it looks like Ryu might actually be soloing it here.
Yeah, it looks like he's gonna at least try. They're kind of not picking a fight, but staying a little bit closer just to not give away that Vi is soloing the dragon. So this will be a free pickup for them.
And binding comes through for Foxy's. That gank from Ryu actually putting Keeper and Cliche on their back foot. And a lot of pressure just given to Starpona and Foxy's.
Yeah, absolutely. Responding to those lane dominant like we thought they would be by just pushing up the waves at the right time to get the advantages they need.
Yeah, and with the Ocean Dragon picked up for Into the Fray, it's going to make this, as we discussed, it's going to make the scaling champions have that much of an easier time. They're going to be able to take more trades and be able to sustain back up. But we do need to look at Guy with Glasses not having that flash. It is something that Juandro could potentially abuse.
It's even nicer to have the Ocean up on Kale because she has her own sustain, but a ooh, missed coming in from Gray Fox. I does not see the Urgot, who will pop his Ghost, and looks like Corrosive Charge does land on Gray Fox actually. The Fear Beyond Death landing, and that is a dead Fox for first blood for Classic
One
Esports.
wonderful roam by V-Dog. Gray Fox not respecting the kill pressure that an Urgot and LeBlanc have on him. I do feel he could have flashed way sooner. He ends up, I believe, flashing, or was it the Lunar Rush? But regardless, the chains from Crypt just locking him down in place.
Yeah, Dog doing a lot of work there. An excellent roam on the side of Classic Esports.
Yeah, with Ryu on the top side, there's not really many lanes he can gank currently. LeBlanc is very hard to gank, but he does have this. He does have 6, so we can see a potential lockdown by Ryu on Crypt. I don't expect it to be happening anytime soon, and a fight for blue buff may break out here.
Yeah, I'm happy for them that they got the kill, but I honestly think that their early needs to be doing a little more work here if that's the goal. You know, if you drafted these lanes that we sort of expected to go the other way are kind of nowhere. I know it's only 8 minutes in, but you know, give me some action. Come on.
Yeah, and I do feel that's because of the kind of champions that they originally chose for themselves in the first wave of choices. You grabbed it, you banned out the Rek'Sai, you banned out the Hecarim, and you chose a Sejuani, a champion that doesn't really have too much early pressure. You know, she has to hit 6, which she actually is right now, so we might be seeing a gank in bot lane, but Ryu is going to be here to respond just in case.
Yeah, I think both junglers kind of knowing where their other's attention is centered. So who starts the fight and who counters the gank?
Yeah, with that Black Shield is going to be a huge difference. We're going to see if Foxy can prevent the Sejuani ulti.
Binding lands on Braum, but a Unbreakable comes through. He's going to put it under tower, which is unfortunate as Vayne gets hit by the frozen prison. Is unfortunately Ignite, and the kill goes to Draven. LeBlanc picks up Vi on the backside, and Fear Beyond Death hits Foxy's. That's going to slow her down. A flash to perhaps save it, but enough damage might be put on. No, a Black Shield would prevent even more coming in. Foxy's lives.
Into the fray, not taking into account how Andro can be, but they're looking for a dive here.
I mean, even that was a bit greedy, but a guy with glasses actually does pick up 1 for his troubles.
And this is the kind of aggression that we want to see from Classic Esports. They drafted a composition that is meant to snowball early, so I do believe dives like that are necessary to close this game out as fast as possible before Into the Fray can come online.
Well, that was the kind of fight that you do want to see. It really sets them up there about just about 1.2k ahead. Doing good for themselves. Next dragon is an Infernal Dragon too, so if they can establish even more control, might be a bit more valuable than the Ocean Dragon.
Yeah, and with Draven picking up the kill on Starponer.
Oh, they think they can get it. He tries to die, but the Ignite scares him off.
Yeah, Keeper is actually going to be getting quite a good back off, having 2,100 gold. The Adoration on his passive just coming really in handy.
Whew, he is 1,000 gold ahead.
And I can imagine both teams setting their eyes on this Inferno that's coming up. It's going to be very important for both of them. Both of them want that raw power that comes from the Inferno Dragon.
Yeah, we see a net already posted, but it's mostly in their own jungle. They can't really trust it because they don't have that bot side tower. So contesting this Drake means they're going to have to move the pink ward line up at some point. It looks like now is the time they conglomerate around the river.
However, with Classic Esports resetting, they know it's safe in the river to group as a team, and a fight in top lane breaking out.
Not safe in the top lane as a flash will not save you. Fear Beyond Death actually misses, so he might have a chance of getting away. Probably not. Does another corrosive charge hit? Perhaps we get that disdain, but not enough damage to pull through. It will force him out of lane, perhaps, though.
Yeah,
As
and
Classic Esports starts the Inferno, they see that Kales really can't come help. A Vile comes to get the Keeper as Starponer is hit by a Sejuani ult. There's too much damage though as he takes over with Final Hour activated. His Q's getting that 50% CDR, but Crip is going to be able to dodge the binding. That is an Infernal Dragon for the side of Into the Fray.
the single target damage from Into the Fray, just exploding Keeper. He gets locked down by Ryu. Gray Fox comes in, and it's just not a good story when such a large damage, such a large team fight presence for Classic Esports goes down so quickly.
Foxy doing
And
it for the style points.
I feel they just didn't respect the kind of lockdown that Into the Fray had.
Yeah, once they picked one person on the map, that person's day was not going to end well.
For sure. And now we're going to see their attention shift over to the Rift Herald as the only objective left on the map, really. But Classic Esports can also look towards the top side of the map because there is only 2 platings left on that tower. It will be very easy to take those final 2 platings down.
Now, let's see where they decide to go with this. There's looking around the Rift Herald. Obviously, it's too early for Baron, but they might. Oh, we saw that trainer Ryu. Tisk tisk.
For sure.
Still gonna get that ward. Looking to move their vision towards the top side as Diana faces off against Urgot in the bottom lane. Vi's gonna reset as Foxy's hits Crip with the snare, the binding.
And Into the Fray just getting the head start on vision control, securing the scuttle, and making sure that Classic Esports cannot take the Rift Herald for a good amount of time without them knowing about it. Looks like they might be looking for some kind of skirmish here in the mid lane, but Gray Fox is going to be roaming up to the fight.
A LeBlanc dashes in, but a black shield means you can't really do much damage to Vayne right now. Gray Fox is on the side, though, is going to knock him up. I don't know if she's going to keep going. She's taking tower damage, but it's enough to scare LeBlanc out of lane.
And although it would be really nice to have that LeBlanc have to reset when you look towards this Rift Herald, I don't believe they were entirely in position, but it looks like they're going to be starting it right away. A very decisive call by Into the Fray.
Yeah, absolutely. V-Dog is pushed all the way up. Hale not able to clear out waves completely easily right now, but Gray Fox says we can start the fight anyway. Don't worry about the rest of my team. Black Shield's going to save me from your CC. Unfortunately, Starponer is hit by the Brahms Q, so Winter's Bite stopping him from going full on in. Not going to do some bait spotting today, but he is hit by Glacial Prison. Leandro is just staying on him, but the flash in the final hour keeps him safe as he's just dipping and dodging. That tumble coming in handy as Morgana picks up a double kill. It's a 3 for 0, and I think they got Rift Herald on Vi.
You just don't have the ability to reliably dish out damage when one of your carries between LeBlanc and Draven are just locked down and blown up before they can do anything. There's a lot of single target damage on the side of Classic Esports, so if they're unable to protect Keeper or Crip from being blown up by Ryu and Gray Fox, it becomes a grim story for Classic Esports.
Yeah, I honestly think that Starponer is going to buy an early QSS. That's got to be in the works, because if you can dodge that Glacial Prison or make it as useless as that one was, then it doesn't matter. You just, that's their main form of engage right now. And Dog just getting caught out on the side. Was having a pretty good game and just got a little greedy for the farm as everybody shows up for the party.
One thing I have to give props to Into the Fray for is the amount of vision control they have been having this game, but Guy with Glasses
is having to pop the Divine Judgment just to last a little bit longer, but he's not going to be able to take out anybody. He's not a hyper carry just yet. He's only level 10, so he's not even really a champion yet. So he is at least level 11, and that was just a big greedy trying to face check bushes when you are a level 10 KO.
Yeah, both Guy with Glasses and V-Dog suffering from a bit of overextension, some greed, and now it's going to be Into the Fray potentially looking for a Rift Herald play to break the base open.
Gray Fox teleported in and is going to be able to dodge the Glacial Prison. Andrew getting a little too excited for the fight.
And with this Infernal Drake spawning soon, Quandro not having that Glacial Prison is going to be huge for these team fights. They're already having difficulty preventing Crip and Keeper from being locked down, and without that Glacial Prison, there's not much peel, there's not much engage on the side of Classic Esports. They have to be safe here.
Yeah, Into the Fray knows this, so they're going to probably try and rush down Baron as soon as they can. They pop the pink ward to try and get some vision. Just getting a little bit of poke as they have to clear out the mid lane. And the bot lane for Into the Fray.
If Into the Fray gets this is going to be their second Infernal Dragon. They already scale way harder than Classic Esports, and with double Infernal, the mid game is just going to be so much in their favor come these team fights.
Yeah, hit 2 or 3 items, they're going to start ripping through them if they have, especially if they have double Infernal. Vi's going to pop the Rift Arrow to try and get a little bit more pressure bot lane. It might keep at least one of them. She's preparing the Vault Breaker, but not going to use it in the direction of the team, just scaling away. They do start the Dragon, or at least aggro it, but it's not enough. They are going to be contested. Are they going to go for a 50-50 smite fight? Vi's a higher level, but they managed to get it anyway as they're gonna jump onto Urgot. He is killed. They got Trainer Ryu on the backside as well, though. Unfortunately, Fox will pop the stopwatch just to survive as Star Poner is in the back, just tearing through the tanks. And it is a 1-for-2.
Quandro coming out huge here, stealing the Infernal Dragon, and actually that is very valuable to the side of Classic Esports. It prevents their mid game from just being completely outclassed by Into the Fray, and a lot of that fight ends up going into their favor because Into the Fray is unable to get onto Keeper and Crip. They're able to get a lot of damage out.
Yeah, this is one of those moments where I wish I could have a instant replay because Vi's a higher level, so they must have gotten a good amount of CC on Vi to really steal that dragon. Either way, it's great pickup for them.
Yeah, and I definitely want to see Classic Esports trying to get more control of this map. We see a lot of wards placed by Into the Fray to control these rivers, to control the enemy jungle. And with Classic Esports being such a snowball-heavy composition with LeBlanc and Draven, you want to get that vision out that way. You can look at
spots out Dog, though. Is he going to take the Blast Cone? He might be able to win the 1v1, but he decides he's not.
And Blue Buff donated to the Crip. Now with Baron spawning soon, we can definitely see some potential plays around there.
I already see Scuttle down. It's probably not going to be alive for too much longer, I would imagine. But regardless, do expect to see some pressure put down.
Yeah, and a lot of damage is going to be coming out of Grey Fox with the Rabadons coming in. He is 2,000 gold up on...
Foxes might be caught out. A Black Shield will stop too much CC, but once it's gone, you've got the Winter's Bite, you've got the concussive blows. Starponer's on the side just trying to get a revenge kill, but it's not enough.
These are the picks that Classic Esports need to blow their lead, you know, completely up. They are 4K gold down, but those kind of picks are going to be able to close the gap in a fight here in mid lane.
You keep having good fights like that, and you might just put yourself back on top. It is a 4K gold lead, but it is a 5v4 right now. Vi is still potentially looking for it. They're rather far up. Trainer Ryu's level 11, but don't think he's going to be able to fight much as he's taken down instantly by LeBlanc to a very low level, while on the backside, Dog is just destroyed by Starponer, that tank shredding.
Grey Fox actually might be able to take a top tower here, and he didn't have TP, but without Quandro's Glacial Prison, it becomes very hard for Classic Esports to even start a fight, especially when they have the Black Shield from Foxy's, Tumble from Starponer, and even Guy with Glasses with the Kale ulti.
And honestly, this is just so smart from them because you have all that pressure that sends Urgot to top, all that pressure for mid, and look at Kale now. They are splitting this map so well and just playing to win as Grey Fox finds LeBlanc and says, nom nom nom, you're mine.
Grey Fox, like, you want to see a magic trick? V-Crip just disappears off the map, and that is exactly what we were talking about. The Diana scaling versus LeBlanc, able to one-shot V-Crip, especially now that he has the Rabadons and the Oblivion Orb. The Magic Pen coming in huge, and Into the Fray are going to be setting up for the Baron, potentially looking for a Death Bush to anyone who dares walk into the top river.
Yeah, they are spotted out by a blue ward though, so they either have to set up a new Death Bush or try something else. Kale pushing in pretty hard. She's at a point where she can actually contest Urgot and does quite a bit of damage.
I feel Into the Fray could definitely look for the Baron fight, especially with V-Dog being below half health, Guy with Glasses being full health and having that TP available. It seems kind of like a missed opportunity for Into the Fray, but V-Dog might go down here.
Yeah, it's a 1v1 for the Aegis. This Guy with Glasses flashes forward to get it, uses Divine Judgment to save himself in a clean 1v1 with Guy with Glasses. Whirling Death not able to catch up with him.
Keeper just trying to just snag a kill on Guy with Glasses, but to no avail.
Yeah, man.
And
Kale is a champion now. Misbinding.
Third Inferno coming up. Both teams are also going to be looking for this one.
Two heavily contested jungle picks. Two objectives to fight over. Who will they send to which? Do you think they'll just try and have somebody solo it?
It could very well be possible. I do believe Into the Fray have a lot of members on their team that can solo the Drake. But Classic Esports definitely have to be on top of their game as they rotate to the bot river to look at that Inferno Dragon.
Vi is setting up pressure. Grey Fox tries to go in on Alejandro. Doesn't know that there's two others to support him, I suppose. Vi is there, but Vayne is only halfway back from the back, while Draven is actually topside, pushing in a push-in lane. I don't know if they can contest this. Diana's even pushing in the mid lane.
Yeah, without Keeper in the fight, there's no way that Classic Esports can contest this.
But LeBlanc does think she can maybe pick off somebody on the side. Grey Fox possibly looking to kill Keeper. Uses the Lunar Rush, is able to pick up the kill on the backside. The fight has started. Crip has gone down to about 10 health, but they can't secure the kill.
If you're Classic Esports, you're starting to get outscaled. There's 5 kills on Grey Fox. There's 3 kills on Starponer.
And Diana won't stop taking your base.
Yeah, she is sitting on 4,000 gold up on B Crypt. What do you do if you're Classic Esports to come back from this game? You drafted an early game composition and it's just not going as planned.
And you're past the point where it's super easy to find one of them caught out, right? Because you think individually maybe you could burst one of them down, but they're always together. They're always grouped, and where one of them is, the next one is who's ready there to support him. And when you've got a Vayne with Black Shield or a potential Divine Judgment on her to save her, that is one scary carry. When you've got Kale who can just flash on people like you saw and still knock them down, that's a scary carry. Grey Fox is hit by the chain though. This might actually be a kill. He's tagged up by Winter's Bite. Concussive blows are going to come through, but not a lot of AD, obviously. Crip trying to get down, but that's a tanky Diana. Black Shield's going to be able to save her. A corrupted charge into the Dark Binding will actually start the fight. Soul Shackles onto 3, none of them able to lock down as Vi uses Assault and Battery to try to get into the middle of things. Starboner picks up the kill onto LeBlanc as final hour into Q. Tumble not able to really catch up, but that is a Baron for the side of Into the Fray.
It might be their Baron because Classic Esports are going to be looking to contest it here. They cannot afford to give this up. It'll be very huge if Into the Fray gets this.
But with a double Infernal, that just is so much damage that they output on anything, Baron or foe alike. A missed Glacial Prison will actually mean that the spike can go to Into the Fray. Guy with Glass taken down very low. Keeper's going to go down to the backside. Divine Judgment, perhaps ill-used on Vayne, who wasn't taking any damage at that moment. Red team's going to take Baron Nashor. Braum is taken down to 10 health. Diana is trying to chase, but a Winter's Bite will slow her down for just a little bit. She's going to get that speed back. Is she going to land the Q? Yes, she does. She's able to pick up one. Sejuani tries to dash away, does escape, but a Baron minion wave means top tower and inhibitor. Put 4 Into the Fray.
Into the Fray, looking to close this game out right here. 10 seconds on Keeper, 20 on Cliché, and they are knocking at every single door of Classic Esports base. That is the top inhib down, that is mid inhib down, that is V-Crypt down, and this might very well be the game for Into the Fray. They are looking to clean sweep the entire base, looking for that last inhibitor, and looking for that Nexus.
Absolutely. Grey Fox 8-1-6, Starponer 5-1-6. They are just so far ahead. That Baron means that they have the sieging power of 3 waves with them every time. Grey Fox almost able to one-shot V-Dog in the background while I'm just trying to describe the waves, man.
And with every single wave, souped up by Baron buff, crashing into the Nexus Towers. Classic Esports, this is their last resort. This is the final thing that they can even do. They have to do something.
Do? Can they do a miracle run here? Because that's exactly what you have to do. They're going to have to wait till the Black Binding Dark Shield is down. Foxy's looking for a fight, but a Glacial Fissure misses absolutely everybody. Nothing to write home about.
Patience being key here for Into the Fray, letting the supered minions do their work.
Just let their towers die. It looks like Classic Esports is just giving up. The fight finally started, but not for them. Gray Fox picks up 2. Vayne picks up 1. This is the end. Into the Fray is your victor.
And what an insane performance by Into the Fray. You saw stellar communication. You saw just spectacular vision control. They were able to control objectives. They found the picks that they needed. They locked down the carries that they needed to in those team fights to secure these solid leads for Gray Fox, for Starponer, and eventually you even saw a guy with glasses being able to 1v1 B-Dog in that side lane, and things just took a sudden downhill after VKeeper was able to pick up that first kill on the side of Classic Esports in the early portions of this game.
Definitely feels like some miscommunication or just some missynchronization, because they only really got off that sort of early pressure that we expected them to get. Classic Esports, that one moment bot lane where they picked up all those kills, and it looked like they were gonna do the snowball. It looked like they had that lead and they were gonna keep going, but they just weren't able to actually get onto the carries enough times to keep them down. And unfortunately, you said, you saw Vayne, Diana get really, really fed, and it's so hard to fight them. It's so hard when Diana can just one-shot you, and you're just trying to get the other carries anyway. Kale, a 2-2-9 performance, but definitely good at, somebody you have to try and keep fighting, even if they're ahead, or even if they're behind in some sense. And Vayne just 6-1-5, absolutely doing monstrous numbers. Let's find out the stats.
Yeah, and you have to look at both these drafts.
Diana with the most damage in the game, 22,000. Good job.
Really strong performance by Gray Fox, but you have to look at both these drafts because Into the Fray played something that they were not used to. They prefer these protect carry compositions, and they're showing us and they're showing every other team that, hey, we can play other compositions just as good as anyone else, and they stepped up today. And on the side of Classic Esports, I mentioned this before, but it just feels that they just entirely changed their game plan the second they saw all these scaling champions on the side of Into the Fray. It feels like that they were more so responding to choices as opposed to playing to what their team wanted. And it became just so hard for them to come back after they lost their early lead.
Yeah, their game plan was definitely not as together as their names. Unfortunately, that's all the time we got for you. A wonderful game. I'm looking forward to seeing how the guys grow in these next games, of course, and where they will all end up.
Who would you say is the MVP?
If I'm going based off score, Gray Fox, he did have a lot of good picks. I also got to give it to Starponer, able to dodge a lot of CC, even in moments when he didn't have Black Shield, and keep himself just outside of the fights, enough to keep picking people off and doing a lot of damage. Proud of both of them.
Yeah, I have to give it to Trainer Ryu and Gray Fox. I feel like Trainer Ryu and Gray Fox working together in those team fights to find the essential picks that they need to actually just destroy team fight after team fight. I just feel it was just a good performance for both of them.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, great performances from the teams. My name is Delphi.
And I am Skyla.
Y'all have a good night.
Or Swiper. Good night.